Babangida was the target of the coup. We will look at Babangida's commentary on the coup as told in his book, What Made the Gideon Okar Special, the Gideon Okar Coup Special. If you read Richard Akinola's book, he makes the point that this was a coup with a difference in the sense that the coup broadcast excised 5 states out of the then 21-state structure of Nigeria. What the coupists wanted to do was to excise 5 states from the 21 states of Nigeria and tell them, go your way, we don't want you to be part of Nigeria anymore until you meet certain conditions. And that was special. Now let's look at the coup speech. The coup speech was broadcast on Radio Nigeria because the coupists captured the radio station. And Gideon Okar read the coup speech. He starts by saying, fellow Nigerian citizens, on behalf of the patriotic and well-meaning people of the Middle Belt and southern parts of this country, I, Major Gideon Okar, wish to happily inform you of successful ousting of the dictatorial, corrupt, drug baronish, inhuman, sadistic, deceitful, homosexually centered, oligarchistic, and unpatriotic administration of General Ibrahim Babangida. Okar continues, we've equally commenced their trial for unabated corruption, mismanagement of the nation's economy, the murders of Delegiwa, the murders of Major General M.J. Vatsa and other officers, as theirs was not an attempted coup, but mere intentions that were yet to materialize and other human rights violations. So these copists are speaking on behalf of Mama Vatsa. We will talk about the Mama Vatsa coup at some point. The Mama Vatsa coup was the first coup that Babangida encountered as head of state. Mama Vatsa was Babangida's friend. Babangida killed his friend for carrying out a coup. Gideon Okar and others are saying, no, there was no coup, that Mama Vatsa did not plan any coup. So that was one of the reasons they also decided to topple Ibrahim Babangida. In the broadcast, Okar said that the National Guard, already in its formative stage, is hereby disbanded with immediate effect. Decrees number 2 and 47 are also hereby abrogated. We wish to emphasize that this is not just another coup, but a well-conceived, planned, and executed revolution of the marginalized and enslaved people of the Middle Belt and the South, with a view to freeing ourselves and children yet unborn from eternal slavery and colonization by a clique of this country. Who are the clique they are talking about? They named the 5 states that they didn't want to be part of Nigeria anymore. We'll get to that point. Look at another part of the coup speech. Okar said they've almost succeeded in subjugating the Middle Belt and making them voiceless, and are now extending same to the South. It is our unflinching belief that this quest for domination, oppression, and marginalization is against the wish of God and therefore must be resisted with all vehemence. That is Okar reading out the school speech, they gave some reasons again. They said one of the reasons for the coup is to stop Babaginda's desire to firmly install himself as Nigeria's life president at all costs, and by so doing, retard the progress of the country for life. In order to be able to achieve undesirable goal of his, Babaginda has evidently started destroying those groups and sections he perceived as being able to question his desires. Examples of such groups already neutralized, pitched against one another. They mentioned the Sokoto Caliphate. The Babaginda installed an unwanted sultan. They are talking about Sultan Datsuki. You know, that when Abacha came, Abacha removed Datsuki and brought in Masido. So the Orkar Coup said the Sokoto Caliphate was being threatened. Then they talked about the destruction of the people of Plateau State. You see what is going on in Plateau at the moment. Perhaps these guys saw it coming. They saw the signs, so they wanted to liberate the Middle Belt and the South. There is massacre going on now in Plateau, in Benue, in Taraba. So perhaps the Okars saw it coming and they wanted to save the Middle Belt. They stated it clearly. It was clear in the coup speech. If you look at another part of the coup speech, they said another major reason for the change is the need to stop intrigues, domination, and eternal colonization of Nigerian state by the so-called chosen few. This is our view. This, in our view, has been responsible for 90% of our problems as Nigerians. Therefore, they state, this cancerous domination has as a factor constituted a major and unpardonable clog in the wheel of progress of the Nigerian state. It will suffice to mention a few distasteful intrigues engineered by this group of Nigerians in recent times. These, they said, one, the shabby and dishonorable treatment meted out to the longest-serving Nigerian general in the person of Lieutenant General Domkat Bali, who in actual fact had given credibility to the Babaginda administration. Domkat Bali is from the Middle Belt. Remember when Babaginda came in, Domkat Bali was the chief of defense staff. Domkat Bali wanted to be the chief of army staff. Babaginda refused. Babaginda said, no, you be the chief of defense staff. Abacha was made the chief of army staff. It did not go down well with Domkat Bali because he knew where the power lies. The power lies in the office of the chief of army staff. The power lies in the office. The ultimate power lies in the office of the commander-in-chief. Perhaps Babaginda didn't trust him, so he wanted his man, Abacha, to man the office of the chief of army staff. The Kopis were not happy about what happened to Commando Ibitu Ukiwe. They said here, the disgraceful and inexplicable removal of Commando Ibitu Ukiwe, Professor Tam David West, Mr. Arrett Adams, and so on, from the service of the state to give way for the most part of the so-called Nigerian ruling elite. They talked about what they called the new pervasive and ongoing retrenchment of Middle Belt and Southerners from public offices and their instant replacement by the favored class and their stooges. They also mentioned the deliberate impoverishment of the people from the Middle Belt and South, making them walking ghosts and feeding on formulas of 010 or 000. That means 1 meal per day. The most controversial part of the coup broadcast is this part. Listen attentively. Are you there? It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. The program is State Affairs. Listen to this part. The state, in the light of all the above, in the recognition of the negativeness of the aforementioned aristocratic factor, the overall progress of the Nigerian state, a temporary decision to excise the following states from Nigeria. Now, these are the states they wanted out of Nigeria. They didn't want Sokoto to be part of Nigeria anymore. They wanted Borno out of Nigeria. They wanted Katsina, Kanu, and Bauchi states out of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And they wanted that to come effect immediately until the following conditions are met. The conditions to be met to necessitate the reabsorption of the aforementioned states are as follows. To install the rightful heir to the Sultanate, Alhaji Masido, who is the people's choice. To send a delegation led by the real and recognized Sultan, Alhaji Masido, to the federal government to vouch that the feudalistic and aristocratic quest for domination and oppression will never be practiced in any part of Nigeria anymore. Are you there? Hey, we are looking at the Gideon Okar Coup, military revolution, and the laws of motion. They said to send a delegation led by the real and recognized Sultan, Alhaji Masido, to the federal government to vouch that the feudalistic and aristocratic quest for domination and oppression will never be practiced in any part of the Nigerian state. They gave another condition to reabsorb the 5 states that will be excised from the country. If you look at the condition, perhaps they just wanted those states to leave. And these are the core northern states. Nigeria had 21 states at that time. 21 states at that time. They said in the coup speech, by the same token, all citizens of the 5 states already mentioned, I've mentioned the states, Sokoto, Borno, Katsina, Kanu, and Bauchi state. So they said by the same token, all citizens of these 5 states are temporarily suspended from all public and private offices in the Middle Belt and southern parts of Nigeria until the aforementioned conditions are met. They are also required to move down to their various states within 1 week from today. They were making the announcement on the 22nd of April, 1990. So they gave Nigerians from these states 1 week to move back to Borno, Katsina, Bauchi. They said in the same vein, all citizens of the Middle Belt and the South are required to come back to their various states, pending when the so-called all-in-all Nigerians meet conditions that will ensure a united Nigeria. A word is enough for the wise. Gideon Okar said in the coup speech. This part is also interesting. They said, we are fully in control of the situation as directed by God. All airports, seaports, and borders are closed forthwith. The former Armed Forces Ruling Council is now disbanded and replaced with National Ruling Council to be chaired by the head of state, service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, and one representative each from NLC, NUJ, NBA, and NANS. That also made their coup unique. So they wanted to bring the leadership of NUJ, NLC, NBA, and NANS to be part of the Executive Council. And they called it the National Ruling Council to be chaired by the head of state. So these were their intentions. They launched the coup, and they wanted Babangida dead. They were able to kill Babangida's ADC, UK Bello. That's Lieutenant Colonel UK Bello. Babangida's security guards were able to whisk him out of his residence as the coupists were pounding his residence with bullets, shooting everything on sight. It is the coup of 1990. From reports, more than 40 soldiers were arrested when the coup failed, and they were executed. If you want to read the full coup speech that Gideon Okar delivered, you will find it in the book, Fellow Countrymen, Story of Coup d'etats in Nigeria, a book written by the renowned journalist Richard Akinola. You will find the book on udarabooks.com, on udarabooks.com. In this book, you will also see the response of the federal government when the coup failed. It is a text of Admiral Augustus I. Como. He made a broadcast on the outcome of the trial of Major Gideon Okar and others.
We need to have a sense of history to be able to appreciate what the Orkar Coup did to Nigerian politics and indeed Nigerian military. Either there was a semblance of unity within the military. I mean, by virtue of their training, orientations, the military were supposed to be, in quote, highly patriotic human beings who do not have ethnic sentiments. But what happened, beginning from the first coup of January 15, 1966, we began to see semblance of disunity, in quote, within the military, where we have people from a particular section. But if we really investigate the coup of January 15, 1966, you will discover that it was not as if that it was conceived as a ethnic coup. It is because of the conspiratorial nature of coups that you speak with people that you have trust in, that eventually culminated into what we call, in quote, Igbo coup of January 15, 1966. And if you look at the return march too, you also discover that it was, again, in quote, Hausa Fulani coup. And when you look at composition of people, the major people that carried out the coup, they were particularly from a particular section of the country. And the victims were also from a particular section of the country. But this thing was not giving concretization in one sense to be able to say, oh, these are sectional, ethnical, oriented armies that we have in Nigeria. But what that Orkar Coup did was to put everything on table. For the first time, we had official categorical statement from a rank of Nigerian military, a section of Nigerian military, saying that indeed some people are unjustly dominating Nigerian state, and therefore, in fact, it wanted them out of Nigeria. Of course, this was a kind of rebellion, and At the end of that coup, the Nigerian military was not to be the same again.
Was that coup a form of revolution?
In a sense, it's a revolution. It's a revolution because it wants to change the existing order. The thing is that what we need to now evaluate is whether that revolution was a well-prepared one, whether it has the capacity, the machinery with which to change society. Because we are talking about just a session, exclusive session of society being conscientized in quote the officers concerned, not the rank and file of the state.
It was a coup to fight for minority rights in Nigeria.
Very correct.
And the plan was to cut out the Fulani Hausa section of Nigeria out of the country.
Yes, that was the plan. Leaving the Middle East and the southern Nigeria to remain in Nigeria.